off-site, because that was something that I did a lot at work. I did a lot of strategic planning stuff at work, so I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was the right time for us to do that. I think it identified a bunch of things, verified some things we should be doing, but we got the board talking about what we think as a group are our priorities going forward. So I thought that was good. I think it's set us up for some of the things we're doing right now.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
But you went through some bad times financially with us, didn't you?
Well, I probably came in when we were first starting to be a little constrained in funding from our major benefactor. But that was okay.
What year were you?
I can't even remember now, because I was treasurer for a few years.
Yeah.
Right.
You were the president.
And then I was president after John. That's got to be what, about 5 or 6 years ago?
Well, this is from a
was
second
2010
year, and I was
to 12.
Yeah. I was 10 to 12. You
So I
were
was 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
And you'll be 14 to 16.
Yeah.
Unless you want more. You want to get on a special list.
Well, Ruth, what year?
Well,
I don't know. I know, right here, 2001, 2002.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Always on my mind.
So you were president before I came onto the board.
But I was there.
You were there, right?
Yeah.
So what was going on with you when you were president?
3 things, I wrote them down.
Okay.
We closed, Rick Jones, chairman, turned over the dollar of it, and I wrote you this thing that I had.
What does it say?
I thought I brought it with me, and I think I did. It says a lot. It's just all adjectives. But that was one of the things. The IDA loan.
Oh, God.
All of that discussion, Andy Roble, Ken Gould, I remember, and I actually have records of all of that. I have actual conversations which were recorded. The IDA loan. I believe it was Judy Matson who did the final motion, and we approved it finally. But that was when Rick Jones was chair. I mean, before that, the first thing was Rick Jones was chair, and they turned the building over to us for $1. And that's when I wrote Janet this whole thing about, because she actually negotiated that. That was very, and then the other thing is that I began the strategic planning process, and I actually have the first strategic plan that was done after a long number of years. And I've been the strategic plan Mavian because I've done what? I did 3 of the strategic plans. So I have the records. And then the 4th thing, which was not necessarily Janet's cup of tea, which won't be on the video, is that I brought in Laura Roberts from Cambridge.
Oh, she was fine.
Yeah, who did a great job, an absolutely tremendous job, and I have those records of getting us to look at ourselves. And she came out with 4 or 5 things that were significant. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not the person who began the diversity conversation, but I certainly was a pusher in many ways, and much of what I would like to have happened over the years has happened.
And you would have been very proud because at the panel, that was a main topic of conversation on every deliberation that took place, is how are they doing on diversity, and are they doing it properly, fully, lip service is wonderful.
Yeah, I think that we moved tremendously. I would like a more diverse staff, but that's, I'm talking. I would like that, particularly now. And I'm not necessarily talking black. And I guess that's the kind of thing that I still think as a country we don't have right. Diversity is much more than race. It's a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And so we still can't get that. It's just this stuff keeps popping up on race that gets us over here.
You know, we're doing it we focused on diversity, in my company, but now we're focusing on inclusion.
Yeah, that may be a good
She
word.
used that
Yeah.
word so early on
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
The word inclusion.
Because you can have diversity, but if you're not kind of making people feel involved and supported or part of the group, then you could be really diverse. But if you're not including people, then you're not going to benefit from the diversity that you put in place.
Well, the global village is so real now. I mean, it is so real. You take an airplane, you take the stupid Skype, and you can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So it's really important to look at that, and for a cultural organization, it serves a purpose
Right.
in terms of that. So anyway, those are the 4 things.
But you know, we do have a pretty diverse staff.
Diversity in our programming, you know, of
I mean,
what's
we have
happening
day,
downstairs.
we have,
I understand. I'm just, those 4 things, I was in on the beginning on strategic planning. I mean, I've got the document here, me and Bill Rolla. And the mission hasn't changed since, oh God, I've got every minute. I've got all the minutes of when I was president. So I could go back and the characters, Andy Roble. Andy Roble, who was
Andy was there.
Andy was interesting because Andy told us that someday downtown White Plains, there would be restaurants and people would be there in the evenings when he was trying to get us to put this thing out front. Yeah, Andy Roble. Didn't he give us our first furniture?
yes.
What brought each of you to Arts Westchester initially when you first became
Well,
involved?
remember, I was on for a while and then came off. I was off for many years and then came back.
How'd you come on the first time?
I think I came on because I was a school super. I had been very known in the county as being an educator who pushed the arts for kids. And I had also desegregated the New Rochelle schools, and I had done that through a magnet school that was different from a humanities magnet.
Okay.
It was not an arts or music. In fact, I told the principal, you know, black people ain't, because we had a lot of white flight, but bright flight also. I call middle class folks fleeing bright flight. And I said to the principal, let me tell you something, black folks ain't coming back here for dancing and singing. So we have to come up for something else. And so I think that I got known in the county. My students went to Albany to exhibit in the, whatever that was. And who was her name? Nina Westerman? Nada. So I think that's how I came to the Arts Council. The first time I came because Chris asked me, somebody back then in those days asked me. And then I went off, and then I came back at that time.
But, you know, New Rochelle, one of the reasons that the New Rochelle school system has not suffered the way the Mount Vernon school system is because of the arts.
Well, now it's because of
white flight.
Well, no, let me tell you what's happened in New Rochelle. I think, because that's I did that. We made a conscious decision, at least I made a conscious decision, that we would keep a segment of the middle class in town by closing the schools in the middle. That's really what happened. That's the story. I mean, I got honored for that. What happened, New Rochelle is long this way.
Right.
It's short this way. So we had these schools in the middle. We had at the north end, we had the south end. We kept the south and north end schools open. We closed, and that was what I really did. That was my claim to fame.
Closed ones in the middle.
Absolutely.
So you
So how did that-
force people to have to travel, right? Out of their neighborhood.
And the schools we closed
Yeah.
were 2 working class white schools. Can you imagine?
And you're here to tell the story.
Absolutely. And there's a story. It's been told. There's a story. You know, at least I just had been a girl from the South who had seen. Let me shut up.
But wasn't the arts
Oh yes.
an important element for
Absolutely,
keeping
absolutely.
some of the white kids?
Well, that magnet school, yes. They came back. The Catholic kids came back. Absolutely. And now New Rochelle has an art gallery. It has 26 science
Oh, yeah.
labs. And,
They're great.
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So I grew up in the South, and there were 2 experiences that I was denied of. One was going to the library in town, and the other one is the Ross Perot Theater. It wasn't called the Ross Perot Theater at that time, but Scott Joplin was originally from Hooks, which is Texarkana. And I couldn't, so my kids and I used to go and peek through the, whatever we peeked through when our acts would come to town, and we couldn't go.
Because
But-
you were black?
Of course. But I was in Texarkana, Texas. But for the library, up the street was a family, an Italian family who owned a
A deli?
deli. It
Yeah.
wasn't called a deli
Yeah.
at home. It's not called a deli. And they were Italian, and everybody in town called them Dago. I didn't know that was a bad word. I grew up with it. I know. When it gets worse. At any rate, I know. I didn't know. We didn't know. We were the little minority being desegregated. And the owner's daughter used to go to the library and check me out books, and the librarian knew she was bringing them to me. That's one thing. And the other is that the arts were, first of all, it's part of our, whether it's dancing, singing at the church, or and learning to, at school, learning to draw, because we had to do all this contained. So those two things. So the arts and the libraries have always been my passion.
Well, something unusual. In memory of my late mother, I made a donation to Arts Westchester. Nobody at Arts Westchester had ever heard of me. And I heard of Arts Westchester because Betty Himmel's sister lived across the street from us, and so, at that time. And so I knew about, her involvement. And my mother was always very geared to education and to the arts. I mean, we're art collectors, we're art enjoyers. We were taken at early ages to the opera, to the concerts, not just visual arts. And when Arts Westchester received my check, they didn't know who I was. And Janet and I think Anne were driving up for an advocacy day up to Albany, right? When somehow I got connected in the phone, I tried to reach them. And so then they made an appointment with me, and the rest is sort of history, really. I was checked out, I remember. Arthur and I went to a dinner at Jamie's house. We were put at different tables. You were there, your husband was there, I remember. And so Arthur said, what are you doing on a Friday night going to someone's house for dinner? I said, Arthur, we're being checked out for Arts Westchester. And he really didn't want to go. And the nice thing was that I said her name was Jamie Schenkman. And Arthur got like all excited. Schenkman, is she so-and-so Schenkman's daughter? I said, Arthur, I don't know her, So sure enough, we get there and Jamie opens the door and he sees Jamie's mother actually right in front of him. So that already made Arthur very relaxed, because Arthur knew her parents quite well many, many years ago, and he was in films that they did, family parties and whatever, and her mother was an art dealer at some point. So Arthur somehow, knew that as well. And Arthur was getting married to his first wife, and the Schenkmans offered him an apartment in Queens because their daughter, Jamie's mother, was moving to New Rochelle. What happened was, of course, the apartment fell through because the house deal fell through. So they still found him another apartment when he got married in those days. But arts has always been just a part of my life and my upbringing. And it is an organization which I'm happy to say is my favorite. Not that I'm not involved in others, but this is absolutely my favorite. I think what we do is riveting. It also was the basis of a wonderful friendship that I have with a former board member, Lee Katz, because we went to a school on Central Avenue. I forgot the name of it in Greenberg.
That's the Greenberg school.
It was a whole day. Yes, Highview. It was a whole day that we were there. And our artists were working with the school in all different subjects, and we were there for a whole day seeing murals that portrayed history and all. It was just riveting. And that was the beginning of a really close friendship too. So for me, it's what we do is great. Clearly, the funding is a problem. What the county isn't able to do what they were able to do in the past, and so we need to look elsewhere. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no Westchester County without Arts Westchester, because we really, I think, are a very important part of the success for a lot of the organizations that are here.
Arthur, by the way, Arthur's funny. And my husband is My husband's, but I don't know if you know, he and my husband really kind of.
Yes, yeah,
There
they
was
were
a
at the
real
same
kind
table.
of a, yeah.
It was very
There was,
nice.
yeah. I remember. I remember when Janet brought your name to the board.
So then I was asked to join the board, which I happily did, and the rest is history. I think it goes back to 2000, I think.
I think it does.
So, and I hope it continues on infinitum.
LaRuth, who was president before you? Just before you?
Wasn't it, I'm
Was
not
it
sure.
Jamie?
No,
No,
Jamie was
later.
after.
Jamie was
Jamie was
Jamie was
after.
before John.
Jamie was
No,
after.
no,
Yeah.
John
Don't
was,
strain your memory. Myron Hexter was president before.
and that was the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the.
And then Jamie followed LaRuth.
And then John, right?
Yeah.
And then
I'm
John.
looking for this thing.
'Cause when I
So
came-
then Mark.
Yeah, when I came on, it was Jamie, because I came on in 2003. And so
Okay.
Jamie was a,
Yes, Jamie was president from 02, 05, so she did a long
yeah.
spell.
And I think John did too, right?
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
What about the orchestra in Baltimore
part of the
that
archives?
played in the
It
middle
could be, I don't know
of
if she wants to.
the
It's lovely.
protests and riots? It was thrilling to me that the orchestra played.
Right.
It was the one thing that they allowed to happen.
Right, the sports thing, right? There was
It's closed.
nobody. They had a
No-
game.
nobody
They had a
stayed,
game,
yeah.
but right.
Yeah.
But the orchestra played.
Yeah. That's good.
I thought.
But I also think very
As far as
important
I'm
to me were the performances downstairs in the Grand Banking Room. And I think in terms of diversity, I think that we open up the opportunity for all different groups to perform there. And I think that's a really very wonderful thing for the community, that for very few dollars that they can come and watch a dance performance or a poetry reading or a panel or jazz. And I think that's really something wonderful that we do for the community.
So you get
Got a
lots of
hard-
quotes.
I'm sorry.
You get quotes. Quotes. It's got good quotes.
You were- she said you have a lot of good quotes. You had a couple of good ones too, LaRuth. So.
We had a problem with the building.
Absolutely, and I voted against
I mean, it was, you voted against it?
Don't you remember? I was a single vote. You remember in that dark room downstairs?
Yes.
With all of us sitting there with no light, and it was
And no
dark-
heat.
and no heat, and I was not president of the board at that point. I was coming on as, and I voted against.
Why?
At the time, I just felt we were in such. You haven't been there that long, and
What do you mean I haven't been?
Oh, yeah, sure you've been there.
yeah, I know, but
I've been there since 1991.
Yeah, but I still felt that it was just too much. I just didn't see how we were going to fathom, and of course, that's why she has that thing.
I
there.
understand that.
Yeah.
I do understand.
Yeah, and so I
What
just
is it?
sort of like, but I was the only board member, the single board member who voted against it, who ended up praising it.
We weren't
Yeah,
there.
we weren't there. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you remember?
I do remember, and I
It was
also,
dark and ugly.
yeah, it was. And I remember Andy Roble getting up and saying, this is a,
Prudent and manageable risk.
But then did you vote for the IDA loan? Because you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The IDA loans minutes are fascinating.
Yeah.
They are fascinating. Absolutely.
how
In fact,
so?
Yeah.
Well, because of the back and forth of everybody. Was Charlie Gibby there and Dannenberg and
Oh, then?
yeah.
So you voted not for the building, but then you eventually came around and you
Oh,
supported
I
the
came around. I
financing.
came around pretty quickly,
Yeah.
but I still,
Not quickly enough.
Well, that may be true, but she had grand ideas, and she still has them. They haven't all been done yet. The whole business, the ninth floor did get done. I just I didn't think it was prudent, and it didn't think.
You know, we
should
all
take-
approach this from different vantage points, and I can understand that. I do.
And one thing that we is different points of view.
But I started to get involved, and then actually I had a new job with the company, so they made me the treasurer, and so I attended the annual meeting, and Janet said, "We don't have a treasurer yet." So knowing Janet, and,
You volunteer.
and I said, "I better volunteer before she finds out that's my day job." So that actually was great because it allowed me to get more involved on the executive committee and understand the budgets. And then I think when I became the president, we had some financial challenges. So I think having the benefit of having gone through the budget process, I think kind of helped, when I was the president, because we kind of survived.
Yeah.
And then I left it in good hands, I think, for Jackie and Froma to take it to the next level. So,
Oh, and it really, well, yes, they did, both.
That was-
Jackie definitely, and Froma has added another dimension that I'm very impressed with. I really am.
It was really helpful that you had that treasurer, leading up to the 2007.
I think we're very lucky. I think the board, the personalities are are all different, and I think we are very lucky. Particularly the executive committee, I think is outstanding. There's just a respect for one another, and we don't always have to agree, but we should go through all of this. I think we're very fortunate there. I have been on other boards where there's a certain divisiveness. I have never felt that here, and I think even in difficult times, which I went through with my family, Froma stepped right up. Everybody did. As you all know, I offered to resign, but I was able to stay because of the strong support, really. And Janet was very encouraging at a really difficult time. So I'm very appreciative for that. And I will continue for as long as I can. I think it's, I think it's absolutely essential. I really do. I think what we stand for, I would like to see the message get out more and more. I think a lot of people still are not quite sure where our strengths lie and where we fit into the cultural scene of Westchester. But if we weren't here, they would know right away.
that's why I always, whenever I speak at an event, I always, because of my day job working for a utility, so I always finish my statement that the arts do energize the county.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
And I try to use it all the time because it's kind of unique to me, but that is so true. That really what sets
Absolutely.
us apart from so many other spots around the state.
Over lunch when I'd like to shift. I don't want this at all on the video. No, it's not negative. It's fine. But let me write down what I want to say, because there's another interesting dynamics for this whole business of the Arts Council and Janet that I find significant. Actually, would make an interesting story in an article.
Is that where we're going?
Not now.
Not now.
Another
Okay,
story to be
what
written.
what I wanted to ask you is, did you have any interest in the arts as a youngster or growing up? Did you have any, contact with the arts?
I did. I was a bit of a doodler artist myself. Not a lot of talent, but it was actually nurtured. I grew up in Rockland County, and I went to the Clarkstown School District. And when I was growing up, they made sure you had arts classes every grade, and so they really did support, because that county was sort of growing at the time, so there was a lot of funding made available for it. And so I always liked sports, but the school district always made sure we had arts education. So, I had a bunch of pieces that I had done in my old elementary school. I took my kids to see. But then my kids, I grew up, my kids, went to the White Plains schools, and then that school district very supportive of the arts. So my oldest daughter was very involved with the arts. In fact, she started out as a fine arts major until she realized. She took a geology class, and she said, "I'll just do arts on the side." But I like geology now. But so I'm not really much of an artist, but I do see kind of the benefit of sort of lots of cultural institutions around the county, making us very different. And so, not much of an artist myself, but this is a good group to share my talents, which aren't necessarily artistic.
So when Con Edison said, there's the Arts Council, did you say, no, I'd rather be on the county association or
Business?
business?
No, I said, well, let me understand what this is about, because I think I would meet a different group of people by being on an arts organization.
Great.
If I'm in a business group, I'm just going to meet business people. I deal with business people all the time. And I learned. One of the things that I brought, sort of my experiences, but I actually learned from my role as the treasurer and president, that actually helps me in my current job, because you're balancing different groups, different interests.
You were very good at it.
And trying to
Very
get
good at it.
consensus, right, and make sure everybody had a chance to have their
Very
voice
good at it.
heard. So,
Right.
and so it actually was a bit of a training ground for me. So I'm not, I'm the chairman of the board of all kind of since competitive energy businesses. I'm a better chairman at my current day job because I spent role as the president of Arts Westchester.
That's great. Can you say that again? That's your quote.
Take two, right? Yeah. So one of my roles at Con Edison is I'm chairman of the board of our competitive energy businesses, and so I'm actually a better chairman and do a better job in that role because I spent time as the president of Arts Westchester and oversaw and led our board through our process. So
That's great.
That's an interesting.
And I wouldn't be president unless you agreed to stay on, so
Yeah.
there you go.
well, we're all supporting each other, right?
Right.
Everybody gives everybody else a guilt trip.
Yeah.
That's
What it's about.
Yeah,
Just to let you know
What?
that I called Betty and we had that conversation about who was going to be the chairman of the campaign. And I called Betty and I said, we had that conversation, so can you please follow up with John Peckham? Because she had said,
Interesting. Maren had been leading that. But I just want to point out one other thing that I may, if you will remember, the whole Tishman Speyer thing.
oh God.
See, I mean, I actually, my presidency was not, the word is not fraught, but there was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot going on.
Oh, we were in the real estate business.
Yeah.
We were trying to secure.
Luke, and with whatchamacallum, his name, Capelli, we thought we could get some dominant domain stuff. And she and I don't know who went with us, had to go down to Tishman Speyer's office and meet with them. But there was just.
They were not nice people.
No, there was a lot going on in that short spirit of my presidency, which was difficult challenges, yeah.
Yeah, but we all had our challenges.
I think,
That was yours. I had mine. You
The
had
funding, oh
You
my
had yours
God.
was funding, and then Froma's is the challenge of getting this capital
Of
campaign.
getting the
yeah.
capital campaign
Yeah.
we all need.
So, but you have a lot of help, though.
I do. I feel very
your
fortunate about that.
Yeah, it's
That was so
interesting.
good.
There was in each one a different kind of situation, and yes, I remember the Tishman Speyer. Tishman Speyer had the option on the property next door to us, which was City Center, and they wanted the building, the Chase Bank building, and they were holding our feet to the fire, and there was a lot of pressure from the city and from Chase. Nobody wanted us to have that building. I remember when we finally got the building, and yes, and we were landmarking it, and I get a call from Albany saying to me, Janet, is somebody locally isn't approving it? I said, who? They said City Hall.
The mayor.
The mayor.
Did they want to knock
Who was mayor then?
Delfino.
Delfino. And I saw him there at a number of things.
And yet,
He kind of
he came around.
He was a big
You know?
supporter of ours.
Yeah, he came around.
It's funny because you have these challenges, but he refused to let us have the designation.
Were they going to knock the building down? If they
I
developed that
think
whole
Tishman's,
property?
I'm not
We
sure.
don't know what they would have
No,
done
you
with
know,
it.
it was in the way of their grand scheme.
Yeah. But there's a great children's book, and it talks about this city being built up, and there's this little home,
And then,
and they don't want to sell because this is their home, this is where they want to be, and everybody kind of built around it. So, in some ways, our building, they built around it, and we're there, and we're in a great spot. So.
That was the beginning of a whole redevelopment of that area, really, down to the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, that's really major.
And then it wound up that Tishman Speyer backed out.
right, they did.
Because they didn't see enough money in it,
Yeah.
for them.
But if you grew up in White Plains as I did,
Yeah.
and there were 4 beautiful movie theaters, one more beautiful than the next, and they're all gone.
in downtown White Plains, when I first moved there, after 5 o'clock, they would roll up the
So
sidewalks.
that's what Andy Robel kept
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
predicted. This is gonna change.
That's right, yeah.
We're gonna have
Change.
people in the restaurants at night.
Good spot.
That would be great if Andy could come to the gala. And all. Are we reaching out?
We should.
We should do
I mean,
Andy, I
because
think
he-
we should do Andy and Sal.
Sal.
And Rick.
Yes, and Sal, and yes.
I know, I have them on the,
Yes.
He was great. I mean, he was still on the board when I started.
It was never. Who else remembers that? Anybody else? You? But if they can like explode.
He can explode. I was like,
I was shaking it.
yeah. I was there. I remember that. Whoa. But this was at a meeting, like in a little conference room, when he went like
You
nuts.
did it at the gala.
Wow.
Did it to me.
On the other hand, he did 1 year on the landscape architect on Robert Wells, and he was talking to your audience about that, and it was great, and this and that. Many times.
Sort of homeless, that they're not taken care of in the city,
Well, there's also the standard open.
I wasn't thinking
yeah.
about homeless.
Yeah.
We were down there until I think it was 12, 1 o'clock, and people were
And it's
still out
hopping.
there walking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
And it's
Very,
hard
very
to
popular
park. There are very
clubs,
few
yeah.
parking garages down there.
Anyway.
Well, I'm looking
Why did I
forward-
bring that up?
why did you
I don't know,
say,
yeah.
what's your vision?
Because
What's your
bring that up.
vision?
You wanted to know, yeah, about vision.
Well, I just thought,
Oh, you wanted to mention about bringing board members.
Right.
Yes.
Are we on?
but aside from board members, programmatically and strategically, where do you see us going as an organization?
I think one of the things that I'm hopeful for with the capital campaign, that we then have some flexibility to do some things on our own terms and not have to be just a re-grant organization. We can focus on some of the other priorities that perhaps we're not able to do with the mandates we have from the county. So.
Let me piggyback on that because I agree. I felt for a long time, or a wish, you said a wish. So a wish is that somehow we're positioned to find a Carnegie for the arts so that we would have enough money to not just re-grant to organizations, but to cultivate and to explore the opportunities for the affiliate organizations in the county to bring them to more robust through the request for proposal avenue, or through a secured grant avenue, or through a foundation avenue, where we grow the arts in every aspect, in every corner, from the most prestigious art cultural institution in the county to the one who needs seating. So that's what I'm looking for someday, for this Carnegie to come from somewhere that will position our Arts Council to do that.
For me, you know what? I don't think that I know exactly where we're going to head, because the economy certainly enters into anything that we do, good or not so good. But I'm hopeful that the capital campaign certainly will give us a little bit of ease, let's say, to go into a couple of different directions if we should choose to do so. Flexibility, I think, is a key word here, and I think that will depend on how successful we are in raising the funds so that we can spend them in a different way and not be accountable the way we are now for county funds.
I think the other thing we got to keep in mind too is the demographics of the county are changing. They've changed a lot over the last 20 years. They're going to change some more, and so I think we're going to be a much more diverse county than we've been in the past. So I think we're going to need to make sure we appeal to all the different groups that are going to want to support the arts or be involved in arts in a different way, maybe than when we first got involved with the arts. So I think we have to be adaptable.
I don't know if any of you saw the New York Times article last week where we talked about who new immigrants are.
The new immigrants.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And if that is true, that brings another very interesting culture.
Who are they?
They're Africans and Middle Easterners, but they're Africans.
It's been that way.
No, they're not, because, that's the growing immigrant. And you see it in our schools, you even see it in the people who work in,
They're
they're
mainly from
here.
South
Well,
Africa.
They're here.
you think about why are they doing that? They're wanting to go to a place where they can have a better economic future, provide for their families better, right? So, immigration sort of comes in waves, and so those areas of the world are probably in sort of the worst shape. And so, why not come to America? Why not come to the prosperous parts of America?
And they come by plane, and they come, interestingly enough, most of them come with some skills.
Yeah.
I mean, interestingly, it's an interesting dynamic. We're seeing it at the university. And if you think about it, that makes sense. That's a huge continent.
And I think the other thing, we're also blessed. We're going to continue. I mean, this county is expected to continue
Oh,
to
yes.
grow.
Yes.
Right. So you think about upstate New York and some of those communities where they're just dying because people are leaving. People still want to come to New York City. They still want to come to Westchester County. So in some ways, we're actually fortunate because I think we have a better future than a lot of other areas of the country.
But if we were to have more money and a little more flexibility, to do things on our own, what are some of the things that you'd like to see us do?
So I think I'd like to see us do more. Again, we have to get past some of the politics in the schools, but I think we should be doing more in the schools for kids. And I mentioned when I grew up, every year in elementary school, I had an art class, right? So that gave me appreciation for the arts that I wouldn't have had. So.
One thing, I